In every single hospital, every clinic, there's this invisible force at work, making sure doctors and nurses have everything they need right when they need it. Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and reveal the name behind that force, a company that's absolutely vital to healthcare, but that most of us have never even heard of.
Seriously, just think about it for a second. The last time you were at a doctor's office, you probably saw hundreds of different items. Gloves, masks, syringes, little alcohol swabs, bandages. The list goes on and on. Where does all that stuff actually come from? It kind of feels like it just appears, right? Well, behind that seemingly endless supply is a massive, incredibly complicated logistical machine.
And the engine that powers a huge chunk of that machine? It's a private company that, just this year, is projected to bring in a staggering $25.5 billion in sales. Let that sink in. Billion, with a B. So who is this hidden giant?
All right, let's finally put a name to this invisible titan of the healthcare industry.
The company is called Medline Industries. They're based in Illinois, and they are the largest privately held manufacturer and distributor of medical supplies in the entire country. Now, that double duty, the whole making it and moving it thing, that is absolutely critical to their story, and we're definitely going to come back to that.
Now, Medline didn't just pop up overnight. Their story actually goes back over 100 years, starting out as a humble little business just making garments and apparel for hospitals. It wasn't until 1966 that the modern company we know today was founded by Jim and John Mills. And from those beginnings, well, it's just exploded into a global powerhouse with over 35,000 employees and that massive $25.5 billion sales figure.
Okay, so a giant company with a long history. That's great, but what do they actually do day in and day out that makes them so indispensable? Let's take a look inside the engine room.
First off, who are their customers? The short answer is pretty much everybody in healthcare. We're talking the biggest hospital systems, your local doctor's office, surgery centers, nursing homes, even the home health agencies that come to your door. Basically, if a place provides medical care, there's a really good chance Medline is their go-to supplier.
And what are they supplying? Well, this table here gives you just a tiny peek. We mean everything from the basic stuff like gloves and bandages to all the personal protective equipment, or PPE, that we've all become so familiar with. But they also handle the big stuff, durable medical equipment like patient monitors or walkers, and even prepackaged surgical trays that are customized for specific operations.
And this brings us back to that crucial point. Medline is not just a middleman. They aren't just a gigantic warehouse with a fleet of trucks. They actually make a ton of the products they sell. And this gives them an unbelievable amount of control over the entire supply chain, from the factory floor all the way to the hospital room.
You know, that unique business model is a huge piece of their success puzzle. But how exactly did they use it to become such a dominant force? Well, it really boils down to three core strengths: their winning formula.
Here it is, the secret sauce. First, just massive scale. Second, vertical integration. That's the whole making and selling part we just talked about. And third, pure, unadulterated logistics dominance. Let's break each one of these down.
So first up, scale. Medline's catalog has over 500,000 different products, 550,000. What that does is it makes them the ultimate one-stop shop. A busy hospital administrator doesn't have to waste time calling 10 different suppliers for 10 different things. They can just make one call to Medline and get everything. It's just incredibly efficient.
Pillar 2, that vertical integration we keep talking about. Because they manufacture their own stuff, they can control the quality, they can manage the supplies so shortages are less likely, and, this is a big one, they control the cost. That's a massive competitive advantage over companies that are just simple distributors buying from somebody else.
And finally, their logistics. This is where it gets just wild. Medline has this incredible network of over 50 distribution centers, and that allows them to offer next-day delivery to 95% of their customers in the U.S. Think about that. In healthcare, running out of a critical supply is simply not an option. So that kind of speed and reliability, it's everything.
And if you need proof that this formula works, here it is. Medline has a customer retention rate of over 98% for their main prime vendor clients. Let that sink in for a second. When 98% of your biggest customers basically refuse to leave you for someone else, you know you're doing something very right.
But look, no company, no matter how huge, is invincible. Being a giant makes you powerful, for sure, but it can also make you a really slow-moving target. So what are the potential cracks in this fortress?
Well, the main competitive threat really comes down to this dynamic. Medline's strength is its massive, everything-for-everybody approach. But you got smaller, niche competitors who can focus on doing just one thing exceptionally well, say, specialty pharmacy packaging. For a customer who needs deep expertise in that one specific area, that specialized focus can be a lot more appealing.
And it doesn't stop there. When you sell 500,000 different things, a lot of them are going to be low-cost, commodity items where the profit margins are razor-thin. Just trying to manage that much inventory is a monumental challenge. And let's not forget, these are medical supplies. The stakes are incredibly high. A single quality failure in a critical product can have devastating consequences. So they're constantly fighting this war on two fronts, against other big distributors and against all those little, scrappy, specialized players.
Which, of course, brings us to the big final question. Medline is an absolute giant, built on a formula of scale, integration, and logistics that has let it dominate for decades. But in a world where technology and patient care are changing faster than ever, the biggest challenge of all might just be staying fast and flexible. Can this hidden giant, which so expertly manages the present, adapt quickly enough to lead the future of your healthcare? Well, that remains to be seen.